Can you manufacture a turntable with a beautiful acrylic plinth that sounds really, really good? Pro-Ject's XAB is so good that it won the coveted 2024 ESA Award for Best Product. I'm Joe with Gramophone. Let's dig into the details and find out how. So Pro-Ject's XAB is truly a stunning beauty. This thing is beautiful. And the B stands for balanced. We'll dig into that later. Now, Pro-Ject actually has a lot of experience manufacturing acrylic turntables. They've been doing it for over 15 years. Example would be the 6 Perspex, which sells for about $3,000. So it's really quite a good one. In fact, Pro-Ject has been manufacturing turntables in Europe since 1991, and this one, of course, is also made in Europe. So this thick acrylic base is actually a very inert material, and what Pro-Ject has done is entered in some other elements with this table to give it the really good sound quality. This is retailing at $14.99, so that's not an entry-level turntable, but it is what we could call entry-level high-end, because it really has some nice characteristics that you would typically find in $2,000 to $3,000 turntables. So $14.99, we think really good value, and we'll dig into why. So this is a belt-driven turntable, obviously, with an AC motor that is DC driven because Pro-Ject is using a switch mode power supply that converts AC to DC. That gets fed to a DC AC generator, which powers this AC motor. So the benefit of that is that you're now fully decoupled from the wall socket. So if there's any dirty power for whatever reason, very heavy usage right at this time in your neighborhood, whatever it might be, it's no problem. You're isolated from the wall socket's power, and now you're going to get excellent speed stability no matter what's happening at the wall socket. And of course, excellent speed stability is one of the characteristics of some very expensive and high-end turntables. So Pro-Ject's XAB is shipping now, and that $14.99 retail price includes a really good Phono cartridge that's already preset for you at the factory. That's a benefit, obviously, because you don't have to worry too much about setup. But this is a really interesting cartridge. It's the Picket Pro Balanced. This is a moving magnet Phono cartridge that's a balanced Phono cartridge. We haven't seen that before, and there are some real benefits that you get there. So why a balanced turntable? Let's think about the fact that turntables, Phono cartridges in particular, are at an inherently much lower level than other sources. For example, a disc player. You can plug your CD player straight into the aux input in the receiver. You can't do that with a turntable. You've got to plug into the Phono section of a receiver, or if you don't have a Phono section, if you don't have a Phono preamp, you plug into a separate Phono preamp and then plug that into the receiver. Because these things are at much lower levels than other sources, they're a lot more prone to picking up noise and distortion. So that's why having a balanced Phono cartridge, this one, into a balanced cable, and you can see the 5-pin DIN connection here, and that into a balanced Phono preamp, so that we've got now a balanced signal all the way through, is going to be much less susceptible to picking up noise and distortion. Plus, balanced, of course, always means you get an extra 6 dB of gain versus a standard RCA cable. So you're getting less distortion, more music, better dynamic range, and the differences are not subtle. It's clearly audible. So let's just reiterate, it's not just the balanced Phono cartridge. You also need a balanced cable, and then you need to go into a balanced Phono preamp, like for example, the S3B from Pro-Ject. We reviewed that a while ago. We'll put a link in the description for you. Another reason why this turntable sounds as good as it does, Pro-Ject is including a platter which is almost 4 pounds in weight. This is a very precisely machined platter, and they do just a little bit of extra machining after it comes off the process. But then they also include this layer right here. This is TPE, or thermoplastic elastomer. So it combines the benefits of thermoplastic, which is quite moldable, with rubber. And that rubber means you just don't get any ringing from this guy. So it's nice and heavy and stable, that adds to the flywheel effect and again, keeps your records at a nice rotational speed, but without adding distortion in to mess things up at the phono cartridge end because it's so well damped. We love having you along for the ride. So if you're enjoying this video, please like and subscribe and click that little bell icon so you're always notified of our upcoming content. And here's another feature. Pro-Ject is including the Record Puck E, which is a fairly heavy slab of metal with a nice felt base underneath. That Record Puck E goes right like so and holds the record onto the platter nice and firmly so that your phono cartridge can spend less time jumping around and more time staying in the groove. So here's a couple other things you might want to know. The on-off switch is here at the back. As you're looking at the front of the turntable, it's at the rear left side. And that on-off switch also, of course, doubles as the speed selector. So you can do 33 or 45. Another thing to note is that we've got the suspension here. It's a 3-point suspension. You see there's a footer here, front left, a footer here, front right, and then there's also a footer right in the back. That 3-point suspension is a little bit unusual, but it works out really nicely with this acrylic platter. So just one more thing about these feet, very much like what we saw in the platter, the feet are machined very heavy and they have a ring of TPE, same as the platter does. So that's very absorptive and you even see a little bit of felt there. And you can adjust these feet. You can adjust the 3 of them so that whatever is happening with the surface in your home, turntable's nice and level. So part of the secret sauce for the XAB sounding as good as it does is that this is a premium 10-inch tone arm. So a standard tone arm in this general price range might be an 8 or a 9 or a 9.5-inch tone arm. This is a 10-inch tone arm, and with that extra length, it tends to stay in the grooves just a little bit better as it's tracking across the record. This is also an aluminum tone arm, not a carbon fiber tone arm, which Pro-Ject uses on so many of their turntables. Why? It's because this acrylic base is actually so inert that with the carbon fiber tone arms, it tends to sound a little bit dead. It's not quite as lively when you're playing your music. So the 10-inch aluminum tube works out better than a 10-inch carbon fiber tube would have worked out. The Tonearm base has an interesting bearing construction that Pro-Ject calls an ultra-low friction 4-point bearing. So if you want to explore, for example, different cartridges or different mats, this comes with this felt mat. But you might want to try a cork mat or a rubber mat, which would have a different height. The Tonearm base lets you adjust both the vertical and horizontal tracking angles, so you can adjust the azimuth and the VTA as well. So one other nice feature that Pro-Ject did with the XAB is that this counterweight, again, it's a heavy machined aluminum, but again with the TPE to absorb any resonances that might come up along this 10-inch aluminum Tonearm. We are super impressed with the Pro-Ject XAB. It's not an inexpensive turntable at $14.99, but it's got some features that really translate into excellent sound quality when you're listening to your records. There are some things going on here that typically are $2,000 and $3,000 kind of record player things. So including this balanced phono cartridge, we think you've got a terrific value here. For more information on Pro-Ject's XAB and all of our fine brands, go to Gramophone.com, and to pick up your XAB, because it is shipping now, go to Sky by Gramophone, where you'll always get a secure checkout with fast and free shipping straight to your door. We would love to meet you and play maybe this or whatever turntables in your price range for you. So if you can, come to one of our stores in Timonium, Gaithersburg, and Columbia, Maryland. If you come to the Timonium store, make sure to check out the Experience Center, where you will see some of the highest end audio you've ever seen and hear it in a setting that's absolutely beautiful. Check out our Kitchen Design Center in Hunt Valley as well. Thanks again for watching. We look forward to seeing you soon.